In today's Human to Human episode, I am joined with Brand's Media Group that was founded by Sharon Brand, and I chat with Sharon as well as the two community managers, Annabelle and Jasmine. This conversation was super fun, and we just discussed how to elevate your online presence and specifically how they do it with their company. Some really good takeaways from this episode is the importance of being patient when you're trying to grow your Instagram account, knowing your audience, being open to collaborating, knowing who you are, and making sure you're staying true to that too, and telling stories through your Instagram feed, learning how to say no too. That's a very important thing to learn. So we chat about that and overall just how important it is just to have fun with your Instagram and just let it tell stories about who you really are. So thanks to these amazing ladies for coming on. Make sure you check out Brand's Media Group, www.brandsmediagroup.com. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy Human to Human, make sure you subscribe and you follow me on social media at Jessica J. McDonald and at Human to Human Pod. And stay tuned because in the next couple of weeks, there's some really fun guest episodes, and then we're doing a total shift to a ton of solo episodes, just me talking about my life and different things I learned. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss those cool episodes coming up. And without further ado, here's Brand's Media Group. Okay, so welcome to Human. I'm so excited to have you three ladies here. Today, I am with Brand's Media Group. And so what Brand's Media Group is, you guys consult brands, influencers, entrepreneurs on how to elevate their online presence and achieve their goals through branding and through marketing initiatives. And Sharon Brand founded this company. I'm embarrassed to say how long it took me to realize that Brand is also your last name. But I was like, oh, that's really smart. It works like branding as well as your last name. I love it. But I'm so excited to have you three here, and we're going to be chatting all about how to grow your online presence. So Sharon, do you want to give a little introduction of yourself to start?
Yes, well, thank you so much again for having me / us. I love the talk we had the last time that we spoke. I think you're just like a natural at this, so it's like such a pleasure to have like Jasmine and Annabelle here also. I'm Sharon. I started Brands Media Group. It's been 8 months now, when I was back in Montreal during the pandemic. And I really just wanted to, help out small businesses. And I was receiving a lot of demand of, people ask me for their help to grow online. And although it doesn't happen overnight, there's, quite a few tricks here and there and strategies that you could do to help elevate your online presence. And so it was really awesome because after just the first month, Jasmine joined the team. And then Annabelle did a few months after. And now we're a total of 5. There's also 2 contributor writers writing articles for the website. And here we are, 8 months later. So it's been a journey, and super excited that we could all talk about how to grow your online presence online today.
Awesome. That's amazing. Jasmine, do you want to give a little introduction as well about yourself and how you joined the team?
Yeah, totally. So I'm a community manager at the company, which is essentially like the social media version of an account manager, which you would have more in advertising. So me and Annabelle and Sharon split the clients, and we each kind of focus on different people, depending on what our background is and how it aligns with different clients. I was born and raised in Montreal, and then for my master's, I moved to Paris. So that was in September. I'm studying luxury marketing, so it's really in line with a lot of our clients, which I'm really happy about because I can really directly apply some of the things I'm learning. And Sharon really lets us apply whatever we can in our specific skills to the account. So that's been really fun. We get a lot of creative control. I met Sharon, so I had been following her on Instagram because I decided I was going to move to Paris like 2 years before I actually did it. And I started following a whole bunch of people that I thought were cool from Paris. I was like, I need to know what the cool people are doing, I saw she was back in Montreal and she started Brands Media Group. I saw one of her stories and I was like, I was moving. I was in the middle of leaving my past job. So I was like, okay, I think this would be so perfect, part-time, everything. So I applied, we got on the phone, and she was just like the same person she was on Instagram that she was on the phone, which is really rare. I've learned through working at Brands Media Group. And yeah, I've been here ever since.
That's amazing. I love that you're just like, I just want to become friends with some of these cool people, or just want to like get to know what the cool people are doing, and here you are. Annabelle, I'd love to hear about how you joined the group and what you've studied.
So Sharon and I actually met in CEGEP while she was still in Montreal, and we were in the same program and we had art classes together. So we chit chat and everything. We're both gonna do journalism or something in communication, but we kind of left each other when she went to Israel and I went to Concordia into communications as well. Then I did my graduate degree in public relations. And when I was about to graduate, so I was doing this internship in Africa, but I was still doing my stalking on Sharon. And I saw that she had this company and she was doing social media. And I thought, oh my God, someone my age actually started something and it seems like it's working so well. It's been it's been interesting and challenging, and like Jasmine said, Sharon really lets us learn and try new things. So I think that being part of BMG has really kind of shaped me as a person, and also up the skills that I learned in school but never really applied in real life.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And so I really want to dive into something that Jasmine touched on about people's like online presence being really reflective of who they actually are. And is that something you really talk to clients about?
Yeah, well, it's been a challenge because we work with a lot of influencers, and sometimes we like message them and they're so kind, and they actually look more, snobbish on their profile, and sometimes it's the complete opposite.
It's like you also forget that they're people, because you start to just think of them as a brand, and they're not a brand. Like there's a human behind that, and sometimes like you'll be in love with someone. Like there was one particular influencer I was in love with for so many years. And when we started connecting with her from like a business standpoint, it was just not the person I thought I knew from her page. And it's like, well, like there's like two sides to this. There's like the brand personality and the businesswoman, and it's not the same person whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think influencers, they're really moving towards, I want to be more than just the object to my brand. So now because we do two different things, it depends on what client we're working with, but some have the budget to do sponsored partnerships. So work with, influencers who have millions of followers, and other ones don't. So it's more of like gifting, posting. And for the ones that do have this budget, well, it's very, very like business oriented. I mean, there's no, there's contracts, there's briefs to send. It's not just like, okay, well, let us know when you get it and post the photo. There's like this whole thing that goes behind it that people don't really see. So that's also been super cool to, dive into as like an agency, because I had no idea it worked like that.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. That's so interesting too. I love what you said, Jasmine, about how like you can have this certain image of who someone is based on what they post, and then you get to know them and you're like, oh, this is so different. And I think it's so interesting to see that. And I'm curious what kind of advice you give to people when they first come and speak to you and say they really want to grow their online presence. What's like a go-to, like here's where we start?
And I think for me, it's really telling brands that we want to work with to be patient and that nothing happens overnight. Like I was telling you at the beginning of the talk, I think that, everyone wants to be known and be out there online, but it takes a village and it takes so much time. And that's fine. It's a matter of what value you're putting on your profile. So what are you teaching others? What are you talking? What's your story? That's why like it's so cool, because Jasmine is very like storytelling, like oriented, and Annabelle with the creative, she's like doing, it's really this mix of both, and that's the value that we like put on the content of our clients. And it's been working. It's just still slow, but I think that's just the Instagram algorithm and how it works. Although I don't want to put any excuses on Instagram, but it's just like consistency and what are you putting out there that people want to kind of like hear, and you're knowing your audience also. Sorry, I'm like going all over because there's so many things to talk about for that. But you can just put on a post and not wonder, well, who's going to listen to this? Who is this for? Why am I writing this? So this is something that we always think of when we write captions, when we put stories up, when we're creating content, when we're doing influencers partnerships even. But I'm sure, Jasmine and Annabelle will also add to that.
One that I've learned from Sharon that I didn't thought about until we started doing content for the brands and the people who came to us was to be open to collaborating with others and be open to supporting others as well that are on the same journey as you. I think sometimes when we go in the world of social media, we're really competitive. So people want to be the best, or they want to be the only person who's promoting, or the only person in their city that is, I don't want to say winning, but like being successful. But it's important to be open to working with other brands or shutting out other people and learning to not only see yourself as this entity, but part of a community, and be open to helping other grow as they're going to help you grow as well.
Yeah, that's so important. I love how much I've had that come up a lot in conversations with friends. In a conversation on a podcast I did recently, is you can follow multiple people on Instagram, right? So it's interesting how people can get so competitive of wanting to be the best, when really, when you collaborate and you encourage other people, I think you can, do that much better and find a community and create organic followers, I assume, as well.
Also, I think now we're moving, especially with everything that happened in 2020. I really think people are showing, more of themselves in like the natural state of things, and just, taking off those barriers, those walls. And it's way more of like who you really are than this curated perfect feed. So that's also something we're like working with the client. It's like really staying authentic to who they are, because I say that all the time, but I just truly believe that if you are who you are, everything will just like align and give you like the opportunities to take you to like the next path of the journey. And that's what's been, happening with at least BMG right now. So like crossing fingers that it stays the same, but I think it's important that brands stick to who they are and don't lose sight of, their vision and why they started their business in the first place.
Yeah, and we work with a lot of younger brands, or at least we are now. And I think a major issue is they'll come to us and say, I want to develop social media, but they don't even know who they are yet. And we can't tell your story. Like, I love storytelling. That's my thing. That's my, like, I love marketing from that standpoint. And they don't know who they are. So how can we tell your story in a set of pictures if you don't know what makes you special? Like, what is your product delivering that's not already there? And then to me, the second component is, once we've established that, or you've established that, you have to trust us. Your gift is creating this product. Your gift is your brand. Trust that we'll be able to tell the story properly. And we're totally open. Like, tell us what you like, what you don't like. But after that, you have to trust us, or we're never going to move forward. And we're never going to be able to show the public who you are.
Yeah, that was that's, I think, has been a challenge with many clients of ours. Yeah. We're still like establishing how much control we have over the account. And it's so cool. It's like a learning, experience, but we need those like 2 weeks of, okay, can we take over entirely? Do we need approval? Can we not do anything before we have like the first approval? So, and it's like that, almost every day that we ask ourselves, okay, well, what's the boundary like?
Yeah, that's so interesting. And it must be quite different depending on the client too, because I feel like everyone, the amount of control they're willing to give up is different. And that's really, really interesting how you said, working with young people, it's really important for them to know who they are and what they stand for in order for you to be able to portray that. So is one of your goals too to portray these people for as authentically as possible and as much as of who they are?
Yeah, I think if they know who they are, then we know, we have things to work with, because they probably have the colors already, the typography already, but we have to story tell it and make sure that it fits all in a grid, and that Instagram is kind of like their landing page of their business. So yes, we could have, all the visuals in the world, but it's all with the words we use, and obviously that like brand identity that, differentiates them than other brands. But it does for sure help when everything is aligned in terms of like, them knowing what their business stands for.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's definitely, I feel like, especially working with people where it's so important for them to show off who they really are, it must be quite a back and forth and needing to be flexible. And it's interesting how things will turn out so differently than I think how you'd expect at the beginning.
Yeah, it's like we're building a lifestyle around your brand. It's more than a product. The product is just the vehicle. And I think in our experience, at least, older generations have had a harder time understanding that. And they think that it's, well, we can't see our product. They don't know what they're buying. And it's like, no, they know what they're buying. They're buying this lifestyle that we've chosen to portray your brand through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more than just a hat or a pair of shoes. It's really like, now we're becoming part of the consumer's identity as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm curious what you have learned is like the biggest myth that people will assume about needing a lot of followers or anything related to social media and online presence that you've been like, that's not actually the best way to go about this.
I want to say I didn't know anything about looking at all the numbers. When you look at the amount of followers somebody has and you just assume, oh my God, they have all these people following and engaging with them. And I would never look at how many comments they have or how many likes they actually have on their pages. And you'd realize something is not right. How do you have 20,000 people and only 5 people actually comment your photos? And what I've come to learn is that a lot of people focus on numbers. So they'll buy followers. Some people will think that endless giveaways, and they get focused on the numbers, but the numbers are not reflecting on how engaged your community is. Like, the numbers are something, but they're not everything. And I think people go into social media thinking my page is only going to be successful if I have this amount of followers, where it's like the amount of followers, if they're not speaking to you, that does not reflect success, because you're not influencing, you're not actually communicating, you're just showing. And I think that's a point that sometimes gets lost. And we're trying to implement that more, because people really get caught up in numbers. But it's like, no, look at how many people are talking to you, how many people are interested or viewing. It's not just the followers, or it's not just the likes that matters.
Yeah.
When we're creating all the content that we're doing, we're really focusing on, in having something that people can engage with, like that, even if it's, and we are pro like having 100 followers and 100 people engaged, rather than like 20,000 and then 100 engaged. So whenever we do stories, even if it's for like 10 people, there's always these polls, there's always these question stickers, always something that people can take with them or answer back, and just talk back with us. So that's like super fun to make, and to receive back from like the work that we're doing.
I think also something that people don't get is they think like, oh, this person built their business on Instagram.
Yeah.
No, Instagram is a piece of the puzzle. It's not the entire puzzle. Just because you have a team like us helping build your Instagram presence, that's just another platform. It's a window into your brand, but that's not, it's not 360, you know? You need to be like the most successful brands we work with. Their social media is now, it's very concise, it's very clear, but then you also need to be doing other types of advertising, whether that's print or other forms of digital, Facebook, whatever that be. We're a piece of the puzzle, we're not the whole puzzle.
Usually people like tend to, put the pressure on like, oh, nothing's growing. And we're like, well, are you using Facebook ads? Are you, doing traditional media? Are you doing something else than like content on Instagram? Because like Jasmine said, it's just part of a puzzle.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I'm curious too, if you've had clients who will get really impatient and be like, okay, we've been at this for a month. Now I don't have that many more followers. And how do you reassure them that it takes time? Or what do you even have like an idea of how long it really takes to grow from A to B? Because I feel like that might be even difficult to track.
Well, also sometimes it's not about the followers count that they get like impatient from. It's, the sales, because a lot of brands are selling something. But this is the first week of the MG. So back in May 2020, I was so anxious because I was like, oh my God, no one's buying, the product, and I'm doing the stories and I'm doing the content. And I was all by myself at that point. So I had like only my parents to rant about this, to rant to, sorry. And so my mom was like, but Sharon, you're not a saleswoman. You're just, a content creator. You're making content for them to make a page pretty and just, layout that's going to make sense. That's going to be your brand identity. But your job is not like to sell specifically. So obviously the end goal is this, like we want to help small businesses grow in terms of sales. But this is what I always remind myself to, and every single day, because, if I put that pressure on me, then it would be never ending and I wouldn't be able to like function during the day.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. I feel like it's definitely, you must cater specifically to the person, which is really important, right? And cater to what, I'm sure it's different what you're going to try and put out there for someone who's an influencer versus an entrepreneur versus someone who maybe is doing like a company brands page.
Yeah. And also, well, the cool thing about what we do is that we work with, different people. And so that's also like adapting to the personality of the client. And, we have this very personal and intimate relationship with each of our clients. We even have them on WhatsApp because, we don't want to use Slack or use other even emails, it's very slow when it's on WhatsApp. There's a good and a bad about this, but the good part is that we can, understand what they want right away, but it takes time to like really think of and understand their vision of what they want and then apply it on our own.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like that's so important to be able to have that like fast back and forth communication and be able to adjust accordingly. I'm curious, if you were to chat with someone and to give them maybe like 4 pieces of advice of like, I want to grow my social media, what's the most important thing to focus on? Because so much comes to mind. I've learned just by looking at what other people do, like hashtags and posting really often. Like, what do you say is kind of the best way to start?
Early on when I had met Sharon, we were talking actually about my social media. And she said, but Jasmine, when I sit with you and when I look at your Instagram, it's not the same person. It's very hard to like get that perspective. And she was like, tell us, like, you're fun. Your story is fun. Put that into your Instagram. I told you that. Yeah, it was beautiful. But it's just like being authentic and showing sides of yourself. Like, it's of course scary. You're putting it out onto the internet, and it's much easier for people to attack the version that you've made up of yourself, because you can come back to, well, that's not really me. It's much scarier to really put yourself there, but people will always identify more when they feel that it's real and authentic.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. And I just want to add to that we lost like a few clients in February because of, budget and limited budget because of the pandemic. And also about this, like, I show the good sides of BMG all the time on Instagram. And, I don't show myself crying, because when I cry, I don't want to share it. I'd rather do it just by myself or with my boyfriend. But I did, yesterday we took a photo and in Paris, and I couldn't help but write anything else than like, yeah, we lost a few clients in February, but we're okay. Like, we're gonna, get back on track for March. We're like fearless networkers, because like Jasmine said, it's like everything that I'm thinking just translate on my social media, and it really, really works in that way, because then people, engage back, and they really send you like these caring messages and those like support messages. So if it depends what your objectives is on social media. If you're an influencer, a brand, or just like personal account that you're using, but you don't want to necessarily grow. But if you do want to grow, then like tell a story, because that works each time.
So authentic, tell a story.
Tell a story. Also, I think learning how to say no. So, if you know what you want to grow on social media, then learning how to say no to different campaigns because they don't align to your vision, saying no even to giveaways, like, yes, it'll bring you followers and maybe a bit of engagement for one day, but do you really want to work with that person? This is something that we learned with as like an agency, learning how to say no to clients because they don't align with the vision that we have for the business. If you want to grow on, any social media platform, asking for feedback is so important, because your community, they can tell you what they want to see more of, what they don't want to see, want to see less of. They are your like instant feedback, and influencers use this all the time for like their next collections. What color do you prefer this sweater in? Pink, purple. People say purple, and then they design the sweater, and it's sold out in 24 hours. So why can't anybody can use this? That's what I'm trying to say. And Instagram allows these tools for you to use them. So use it to your advantage, even if it seems silly. We actually did this with we got a new client for February, and she wasn't sure if people wanted to see more IGTVs or reels. Remember? So when we had her on the phone, I told her, well, listen, make a poll on Instagram. You have 70,000 followers. People are going to, tell you what they want to see more of. And she finally got an answer, and now she's using it. So, it's right on your fingertips. It's just a matter of like using it or not.
Yeah. Do you find, I'm curious as well, if you have clients who find that they're nervous to put themselves out there like that, or is everybody like, how do you find they differ? Because it is very vulnerable to put yourself out on social media and be like, tell me feedback, and I'm gonna have to make sure I can like emotionally handle it.
Mm-hmm. So I think there's 2 things I want to say about this. The first one, we work with a lot of brands more than personal accounts or like a person. So for brands, we're trying to include this like behind the scene videos, photos like that, anyone can feel more connected to the brand when it's personal. So we had this experience, and the client was not in Paris. She was on the other side of the world, so very, very, very hard to get content. And we really learned a lot in that sense that, what can we do? What solution can we find when we need content from a person and we're not physically with her?
Yes, and definitely people have that like level of like, do people want to see me do that? Like, I don't think people want to. And it's like, yes, people want to see it all. Like, they don't just want to see you when you're most glamorous, because we see that every day. People want to know more about you. And of course, it's scary. Like, it is. But people, like, you may feel embarrassed, but no one else is interpreting it that way. And then eventually you kind of become numb to it and you're fine just putting more and more out.
I think that's honestly such a good point of like, like you might feel embarrassed, but nobody views it that way. And everybody, and this is actually, I think I said this to someone recently. I was like, if you think about it, we're not annoying because everybody's just swiping through so many stories that if they don't want to see yours, they're just going to swipe right through it. And that's all.
I'm actually wondering what Annabelle has to say about this, because last week she posted stories about her, skin journey, and that was like super vulnerable of her, and it really inspired me to do the same. Maybe I will one day. So I'm wondering, Annabelle, did you get more comments, more engagement when you shared this story, because it's unusual to compare to the stories you've been usually sharing?
Yes, and I actually got messages from people that I don't usually speak to. I think when you talk about something personal, people that are like outside of like your circle, or people you don't even think are paying attention to your stories like that, kind of like come out the woodworks and are like, oh my God, I too have been through this. And it kind of created this chain of testimonials. Like a bunch of girls and I were just discussing our journeys, exchanging photos. And for me, it kind of shows them a bit of who you are, because Sharon and Jasmine know that I'm trying to have a cute feed just because I'm jealous of their feeds, but it's okay. It's not a competition. And so I post very like cute and curated photos of myself. So I'm like, okay, so my stories are going to be where I get to actually tell people who I am and the kind of things I've been through that I don't feel like fit into the photos I have on my grid. And I think not for me, but for everyone, it gives people a window into who you are. I think your social shouldn't be just who you want to be or who you want to portray, but actually who you actually are. And they need to know like, okay, this person is this, but she also relates to me in that way, in a way that I didn't even know I could relate to that person.
That's amazing. And I love how that comes back to being who you are on social media. And I think this was brought up earlier too, is that it's scarier to think that people judging what you're posting, it won't hurt as much if it's just a facade you're putting on, rather than if it's authentically who you are. If someone hates on that, then it's going to hurt more. But I think that's also how you build a genuine connection with people who are looking at what you're doing.
Yeah, totally. When Sharon gave me the feedback of like, there's the difference between you and your Instagram. Everyone knows that I love luxury and luxury houses and history that revolves around that. And Sharon's like, but that's not anywhere on your feed. I see you with a Louis Vuitton bag, but no one knows that like you scrimped and saved for that. No one knows that like you bought that because it has to do with Audrey Hepburn, who wore it here and there. And she was right. The second I started putting that stuff out there, just like Annabelle, like obviously Annabelle's story is much more touching than mine, but but so many more people reached out, and now I have like a small community of people I've never even met, but we talk about luxury and luxury pieces. And did you hear this got discontinued? And what's it going to do to the value?
That's
like,
super cool.
It's just, you never know who you're going to meet through it. Like I met Sharon by putting myself out there a bit in a way that I've never done before. And now I'm meeting these people who like feel a different interest of mine, a different passion.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I love that. This whole time I'm like, what could I share that I'm not sharing? Am I sharing who I really am? Do I come across as who I seem on my social media?
But also what I really want to emphasize on, it's that this should be taken, lightly and doing it for fun. So, don't take it too seriously. Also, just like have fun with it. It's just, I think we've spoken about that on the last podcast, but it's just an extension of ourselves. It's just a phone. So if you want to post something that makes you happy, post it. If you don't post it. It shouldn't be like something where you overthink, like, do I post it or not? And that's, for brands, it's different because, obviously it's like a catalog of their product. So it has to be more thought of. But if you're trying to grow your personal brand, then I think it should be as simple as, do you want to post this? Yes or no? No, don't do it. Yes, post it.
Yeah. And I think it's also important I have had moments where I'm like, oh my God, I like post a lot, or like, and I've had guys be like, oh yeah, you post a lot. But it's also like, I am posting because I love it. And I'm just someone who loves photos so much. I used to have my bedroom walls like covered in pictures when I was like in grade 7. It was ridiculous. And so like Instagram's somewhere where I'm like, I can just share these photos that are my favorite things. And I think that's like just fun to do. And it's important to just stay true to yourself. And I love how much you all have emphasized that throughout this episode.
The people who don't want to see it, you just weed them out, because people do. And those are the people who it's worth having on this platform. And if you don't like to see it, that's cool. But then I guess my platform's not for you. And just like as people, we're not for everybody. And the same goes for this extension of you. It's like, just be comfortable and confident enough in yourself. Obviously easier said than done, but
yeah, 100%. I love it. There's so many good like little tidbits that you guys are throwing in here, which I think are so important. How you guys working with brands and doing so much social media stuff, how you find a balance between, because in my free time, I'm scrolling through Instagram. Like, how do you find a balance between, do you lie to yourself sometimes and you're like, this is for work, but you're really just scrolling, or like, what do you do for that?
Love that you asked this question, because there's like so much to say about it. I think the life work balance in our case is really, really tough. And the reason is that we have like accounts on our Instagram, on our phones. And we don't have, I don't have like a work personal phone. I think this is the next thing I'm going to purchase as part of my, professional career. It's much needed, because it's like, I need to set myself boundaries and times of, okay, well, I'm going to work from 9 to 5. And then, what am I saying? 5 until like 7, and then past like 10 p.m. or 9, I'll stop going on the accounts, on the brand's accounts, because if not, like, it could never end. I mean, I could be on it until like 1 a.m. and it's not healthy. So also now that we're all working from home and it's, COVID and the pandemic, it's also a matter of, okay, well, I need to turn off my computer and make my desk now more of like, okay, it's the dinner table or like breakfast table, So since I've been doing that, it's been really, really helping.
I'm always on my phone. And the thing is, the girls found out recently that I don't close my notifications. So like I would get like my phone the entire day. I'm like, no one's speaking to me like this. And then I would find out it's the other accounts. And there's this guilt if like I would wake up at 7 a.m. and I would see something and I'm like, well, I've seen it. So now I have to do something about it. Rather than thinking, oh no, like it's 7 a.m., you've seen it, but you can handle it like in an hour or two. Like this isn't pressing. So because there's no set hours, you feel like there's no excuse not to be working. You're like, oh, well, if I'm not doing anything, maybe I should be working. But one thing I've learned is sometimes free time can just be free time. Like free time doesn't have to be, okay, I have finished everything, but I'm free and I'm just going to go and do more. Sometimes recharge helps you get better. Like when I don't do something for an hour and I just watch like Law and Order SVU and eat noodles and I'm not thinking, I work way better after than when I never stopped working and I never put down the phone or put down the computer. It's hard because everything on social media is so instant. Like someone sends you a message and you want to answer right away, or you see some things and you want to react right away. But like Sharon said, it's not realistic. If someone sends a message at 1 a.m., I can't put myself in a position where it's like, well, I'm going to be there 24/7 because that's not a life.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to compromise your mental health more than anything. So it's important to have that. I'm surprised you have your notifications on too. Oh my God, I haven't had my Instagram notifications on in like years.
Same.
I'm too forgetful if I don't have them. I'm just going to forget that I even have a job if I don't have notifications on. So I have no choice.
But also, it's like I had to think twice, because obviously we're always here if there's emergencies and we have to be available. But the goal, at least in like the near future, is really to have, I don't know, to have hours where it's like, okay, well, everybody disconnects and, have a good night, have a good evening, and you're with your family and your friends, and work is done and we start the next morning. Although the flexibility of doing, things at certain hours, and, we don't have like a 9 to 5 in the sense that you could finish work earlier if everything is done during the day, just, as long as you're available. And, there's one message to answer at 6 p.m., but you haven't worked since 3 because you've been done all your work. So that's the good part of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really good. I wanted to ask too, so you focus primarily on Instagram, right? Do you do any sort of advice for other platforms, or is Instagram your main one?
So for Facebook, we're realizing that obviously Facebook got Instagram, so we're kind of like focusing on Instagram, but we are utilizing Twitter, Pinterest. So I'll let Annabelle speak about Twitter because she's managing it. For me, Pinterest has been a really good, way of putting the content that we're creating on this app. Also, it's nice, it's curated, so it's very Pinteresty feed. And we still, when I check the insights of the website on my phone, we have had people come in from Pinterest also. So I think, use it. There's a business Pinterest now, so it's only to your advantage. Once again, if you have content that you want to share, then, put it on Pinterest as well if it's already done for Instagram.
That's such a good point. Yeah, and utilizing multiple resources.
I think all resources kind of help you still have your voice, but use it differently. Because I think on Instagram, you can't ramble forever. You can't do too many videos. For example, if someone has a YouTube channel, they're not going to put the 20 minutes videos on Instagram. They're going to put them on YouTube, and they're going to do reels on Instagram. What I like about Twitter is that there's a bit of a casual feel to it. There's GIFs and there's jokes, and there's a bit of a culture that is different there than other social media accounts. And it's interesting because I have a personal Twitter account and I have a business, well, the one from BNG. And interactions are so different. Whereas on my personal account, everyone just makes jokes all day. Like nothing is serious. You'll see something horrible happen and someone will make a joke and you're like, why are we all joking about this? But it's lighter and it's fun. And my goal for BMG is one day to be able to kind of mix the fun and the seriousness of it. I think a lot of social media companies, when they go on Twitter, they're very informative and they send links and tips and tricks, but there's nothing very light about it. And I think that it's interesting to use a platform for what it's meant to be. And some people just use every platform the same. So it's still a trial and error. I'm looking into it, but I really want it to be the place where our personalities that I think are sometimes fun can shine through.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think it's always nice to find that balance. Yeah, Jasmine.
You know who has an incredible Twitter is Wendys.
Really?
They rip people. Like if you
yes,
and say, like your burger, like Wendy comes for you. And that's not their, no, it's incredible.
I'm gonna check.
They go viral because it's just, that's not them on Instagram. That's not them in advertisements, but on Twitter, it's you're speaking to Wendy.
That's cool.
It's iconic. Check that out.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love just how I just want to even like think for myself the things that we've chatted about how important it is to just be yourself but not take it too seriously and post what you feel is best and know that numbers aren't everything. And I feel like those are really great points that you guys have touched on. And just to kind of wrap up, I want to hear about your goals for the company and what you're excited about for the future.
I hope that, we get more clients, of course, but that everyone, of course, stays in everyone that we take in stays in, the vision that we have, which is to help small businesses or big businesses grow their online presence online while keeping, an open communication with everyone and really creating this intimate relationship, because I really think that's what truly sets us apart from other social media agencies. I really hope to grow the team also. I think that, we're all learning from each other. We're all good and have weaknesses in certain areas. So it's been like really the best part of my day and of working is like working with these two every day, like all the messages and all the like the hype, and it's really a roller coaster of ups and downs and cool things happening and then bad news, but we're a team, and I think that's like the most rewarding part of the job. So I hope that it can grow into more and more people joining. And so I'd love to have, an office in Montreal and also in Paris, just because I'm French and Canadian. I really feel close like to Paris and Montreal the same way. So I'd love to have kind of like two offices, two different areas of the world. And I have, I'll just kind of say it, even though it's this is probably in the next 5 years, but the idea, and I think that's the whole vision that I had in the beginning before starting BMG, but I'd love to have this like co-working space where, you know, students, entrepreneurs, they could come. I forgot if I told you that on the first podcast. Did I?
I think you might have, and I love the idea.
I want to have this space where, you know, everyone who has ideas, everyone who wants to work with creative people or non-creative people can just like meet and connect, network, have this little cafe also where, you know, they could get their coffee, take their little photo for Instagram. Who knows if Instagram will exist like in the near future. I hope so. But yeah, I just hope that, you know, this is like an agency, yes, and we're going to grow it, but I kind of want to do something else with it, with the vision I have, something that will really like stay, you know, somewhere and where people can, you know, actually regroup all together.
I love that idea so much. And it's so funny. The more I connect with people and talk to new people, the more I realize how many people are from Montreal or like live in Montreal currently or have like moved to Montreal. And like a ton of my best friends live in Montreal. And I'm like, I think I might need to go to Montreal. Like I would love, that would be so amazing too, to have a co-working space like that where people could come and just have such a community too and be able to like bounce ideas off people and collaborate. Well, it's been so amazing to get to know like the other two members, and I know you have all more members as well. I'm so excited to see where Brands Media Group goes and how you guys grow and how you all grow individually as well. It's been so great to sit and connect, and I would definitely want to connect again in the future, and we can do like a check-in and see, you know, in a couple of months like where Brands Media Group has gone. And it's been so great to sit and get to chat about this. And I want to make sure people can also find you guys online, find what it's like to book you, where they can find you, and of course your Instagram account.
People can find us on, obviously the website is www.brandsmediagroup.com. You just go in the contact page, just leave us the message there with the subject. Usually people forget to write their website or their social media platform channels. You know, they just say, I have this problem, I need help with this. But I'm like, I need to see who you are, what you do. So leave that in. My personal Instagram is at Sharon Brand.
Mine is at Jasmine Bellini.
And mine is at Annabelle, double N's and double L's, Irakiza.
Okay, perfect. I feel like I should just say mine's at Jessica J. McDonald and at Human to Human Pod, because I felt like we went in a circle. I'm like, my turn. Amazing. It has been so great to chat with you ladies and get to know more about yourselves and the company.
Thank you. It's always like such a pleasure.